Yo, what's up, everybody? How's it going? This is Marcos Villegas, and welcome to the Fight Up TV live chat as we're coming live to you on multiple platforms on YouTube, Facebook, and on Twitter. Today's May 3rd of 2001. So 2001. Me thinking we're back like 20 years ago. Jeez. 2021. Hello, everybody. How's it going? If you are joining us now, go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel as we await a few special guests, as always, and a lot of big stuff to talk about, a lot of big happenings that happened over the weekend. What's up to people watching over in Italy, and I'll get to all your guys' chats and questions right now as well. But over the weekend, great fight over at the StubHub Center. We'll touch on that in a little bit, as well as the very tragic news of what happened in Puerto Rico, the situation with Felix Verdejo, and of course, we're gonna break down the Canelo versus Joe Saunders fight as well. We're supposed to have a special guest on with us, still waiting for him to go ahead and enter the chat. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and get to some of your comments here and answer them while we await that special guest that's supposed to join us, on top of having Yair and Marcus Hayes in us. And actually, our special guest has already joined us, guys. Let's go ahead and give ourselves a very special welcome to the one and only Mr. Abel Sanchez. Abel, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Marcos?
I'm great. Thank you for being on here. You're actually our second live guest that we've ever had on this live chat that we've done. So I'm excited. Thank you for joining us.
Not a problem. In fact, it didn't want to do it on my desktop. I guess it's a new technology that you're using, StreamYard.
Yeah, it is. I'm still trying to figure it out, but it allows me to talk to people live. So that's why I went ahead and went with it.
Okay, that's wonderful.
Yeah, technology, right?
Yeah, technology.
Abel, how are you, my man? Let me know how you been. What's going on in your neck of the woods?
I'm doing well. It's a little slow right now. This darn COVID has got us all locked up, and fighters can't come in that I have out of the country. So it's been a very slow process in the last 2-3 months, but that's okay. I have time off.
How have you been doing with this time off? What have you been doing?
I just catching up on a lot of things that I need to do around here, and just trying to stay as busy as I can.
Do you currently have any dates like set up with your guys, or is it still because everyone's international?
Not a one.
Oh, wow.
It's difficult.
That's unfortunate, man. Hopefully, with restrictions kind of loosening up over here, maybe some of the guys will be able to come over here to train.
Yeah, well, they're kind of forcing the restrictions, but who knows? With India having the many problems that they are in other areas in the world, it's going to be difficult to justify what they're trying to do. But I hope they do. I mean, it's hurting everybody, not just us.
The all of last year sucked. It sucked for everybody.
2020 was very difficult for everybody. Yes.
How was your 2020? More or less, was it okay?
I'll use your words. It sucked.
But you're fine, right? Health-wise, you're good?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Okay.
Just the situation just keeps us from doing the things that we normally do, as far as training, as far as doing all the things that are part of our job. And unfortunately, everybody's abiding, or should say, fortunately, everybody's abiding by them, but it hurts our industry tremendously.
But you're still, at the summit. You're still doing the things over there and all that, right?
It's here. I'm here.
That's good.
Boxing is not.
Yeah, but fingers crossed. May is going to be a big month, which is some of the stuff that we're going to touch on with you, because we got a lot of fights happening. First off, I wanted to ask you about the Ruiz versus Areola fight. You trained Andy Ruiz Jr. for his fight with Joseph Parker, which was a very close fight. He didn't get the nod, but nevertheless, it was a really good fight that he had with them. How did both Andy and Chris look to you?
Actually, I thought the fight went a little longer than I expected. I thought that Andy was gonna be improved a lot from being down there with Canelo. Chris is Chris. Chris is, if he's motivated, if he's prepared, and he stays in the gym. I know Joe Goosen's not the kind of guy that takes any shit from anybody, so I knew that he was going to be in shape. I knew that we're going to get a good Chris. Yes, he is 40 years old, but he's still an exceptional. How can I put it? A good contender. He's had a crack at the title and hasn't been successful, but doesn't mean that he's not a very good fighter. Andy Ruiz was in my camp. He sparred with some of my guys. I knew what Andy had, and Andy is not. Andy has got to take advantage of the qualities that he has. He's not going to be Canelo. He's not going to be anybody else. He's got to be Andy. And the guys in my gym, at times, and in the other gym where he was at, kind of showed him that he had a long ways to go. If he stays with Eddie and he continues to have discipline like he did for this fight, and I don't mean just because he lost some weight, because he lost that same kind of weight when he was with me. I'm talking about just paying attention to what they're doing down there, because Canelo didn't become Canelo overnight. It takes a while. Andy's not going to be able to come home now and party for 2 months and then go back for a month and a half or 2 months. I think he's going to improve. So I hope that he continues the discipline with Eddie, and if Eddie can get that out of him, I think it'll make him a better fighter. Right now, he's still marginal.
Did you notice did he have discipline problems when he was with you?
No, I don't take any crap either. But it's not so much in the gym. You can't in today's boxing, today's athletics, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, boxing, you can't fight, train for 2 months and then take 2 months off and go party and get fat and then go back and redo it again. And that's been his MO. And that just cannot be. He's got to get right back in the gym, just like Canelo does. Doesn't Canelo, every time you see Canelo fight, he's right back in the gym like the next week. That's the modern athlete. That's what the athlete has to do. If Andy chooses not to do that, well, then it's going to be the same Andy all the time. No improvement, no further development.
You watching it and having obviously a trainer's eye, did anything stick out to you that he did differently, or did he improved on?
To tell you the truth, I didn't watch it.
Oh, you didn't see the fight, Abel?
No.
You didn't pay the $50?
No, I've seen enough fights that last me a lifetime when I'm not involved.
Man.
I've read about it. And
yeah, well,
and
he got knocked down. Chris put him down.
Well, he's not that hard to hit, and he wasn't that hard to hit in my gym. He's got fast hands and he's got great skills, but those two things are not going to make you a world champion again. He caught Joshua on an off night, and he had the best night that he could ever have, and he became champion. Now, I hope that he doesn't expect it to be that easy again.
Do you think, though, that with Eddie, and like you mentioned, he stays disciplined, he stays working, he can be heavyweight champion again?
I think it's not only Eddie. I think it's the atmosphere that Canelo provides for those kids. It's not only Andy, it's Oscar, it's the other kids that Eddie has. But being disciplined and watching a guy work like Canelo does, and I'm not saying it because I was there or I've been there, but you see that in some of the films and some of the things that he does and some of the exercise that he's doing, and he's in the gym a week after his fights. And so if Andy can do that and continue to learn and sponge off of him, then yeah, he could be a better fighter. I'm not going to say he's going to do the same thing he did to Joshua the last time, but he can be a better fighter. It depends on Andy. Really, it doesn't depend on anybody else.
If he were to, I don't know, go, they talked about him either facing Wilder or Ortiz. Like stylistically, like how do you see those fights for him?
Ortiz is a better fight for him. He doesn't want to face Wilder. He'll be flat on his back and be hurt.
Why do you feel that way, Abel? A lot of people would say that Tyson Fury gave the blueprint to beat Wilder. You just press Wilder, and Andy's a guy that presses people.
Tyson Fury is Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is a special talent. Andy Ruiz is not yet. Wilder can do the same thing Areola did, but will be 10 times harder, and he'll be sleeping.
Given like the heavyweights, we don't know when this announcement's going to be with Joshua and Tyson Fury, but How do you see that fight, Abel?
That's a very good fight. I still think that Tyson Fury is the number one heavyweight in the world. He's proven that. He's done enough to prove that. I don't think Joshua has done as well as Tyson. Although I think that Joshua will present some problems for Tyson Fury, but I think Tyson Fury is too much for him.
Do you think it's something where he completely blows him out? It's like a dominant performance from him, or is it going to be really, really close?
No, absolutely not. You're talking about a gold medalist. You're talking about a guy with great credentials. You're talking about a world champion also. I think that Tyson Fury just is a better fighter. Uses his skills better than Joshua does. Uses his size and his movement. And the biggest, I think the biggest thing for it is there's this ego thing over there. Who is the better fighter in England?
And by all accounts, you think it's Tyson Fury. I don't think a lot of people would disagree with you because how versatile Tyson Fury is as well. And then the speed, like the guy moved. He does not move like a heavyweight. It's crazy the way he moves.
It won't be a slugfest. It'll be a Tyson. Fury, it'll be a Tyson Fury kind of fight. And I don't think that. I think Tyson will clown around like he did with Wilder in the first one. But I don't think that Joshua has the punching power to do what Wilder did to Tyson Fury. But Tyson has the skills to be able to box him and do the same thing he did to Wilder in the first fight.
Unless he decides to just press forward like he did with the second Wilder fight.
No, I think he has to know. I think if you have a second fight between them two, the first one's a decision. I think then Tyson will know what Joshua has to offer, and that's the only reason Tyson pressed the first one, because he knew exactly what Wilder had to offer, and Wilder wasn't improving, and Tyson knew that it wasn't that hard for him to box him in the first one. So the second one, he knew he had I guess, like you guys call it, the blueprint.
The title of this live chat is, and this is just my personal opinion, I don't think that this is going to be an easy fight for Canelo against Billy Joe Saunders. I think Billy Joe Saunders has a lot of things that could complicate this fight. With this fight happening this Saturday, Abel, break it down for us. How do you see the fight, and how do you think it'll play out on Saturday night in Texas?
First of all, I think Billy Joe Saunders had a difficult time in his previous fight. Okay, you're talking about Billy Joe Saunders has had some inactivity. He's got a lot of rust, and he's fighting the best fighter in the world right now, pound for pound. I think that the first 4 or 5 rounds will be tactical, will be difficult because Billy Joe has a lot of skill. But I think as the fight goes on, Canelo takes over the fight and makes it an easy fight for him. I think it's a decision. If it's a TKO, it's late in the fight. If it's a decision, it's a Canelo by, say, 17-13 or 16-12.
Yeah, a lot of people have that I've talked to have pointed that out. They all feel that at some point Saunders is going to get tired, and they've specifically said championship rounds that's when Canelo is really going to turn it on him. What there that you guys see from Saunders games that makes you feel that he's going to get tired out in those rounds?
I don't think it's going to be a factor of him getting tired. I think it's going to be, as you've seen Canelo progress, you've seen Canelo take people apart because of his ring IQ, because of his ability to figure out what you're doing and his ability to capitalize on it. And you're talking about a guy with very good hand speed, very smart, very good head movement, good defense, and he's quick with his punches. He doesn't take them back all the way. He punches like real short arm kind of punches from close where they're hurting you. I mean, except for the Khan right hand that came from New York, but against Kovalev, his punches were short. His punches were crisp. I think that once he figures out what Billy Joe is doing and gets his speed down, I think he'll be able to land whatever he wants to land, and he'll have some fun.
On the flip side of that, if I was like a Billy Joe Saunders fan and I were to listen to what you just said, I'd be like, well, Abel, he's always had trouble with guys like this. He's always had trouble with southpaws that are slick and that move a lot. He's going to have trouble with Billy Joe Saunders. He's not going to know what to do, because when's the last time he's fought a tricky southpaw? It's been since 2014.
Yeah, and then I would say to you, go back and see Billy Joe's last fight. Okay, did he fight a right-hander or did he fight a left-hander?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay, he fought a right-hander, so he had issues with right-handers too, then, huh? So it could, you could be devil's advocate and have an opinion about that, but you're talking about the best fighter in the world right now, the guy that his credentials are above everybody else's. You're talking about a guy has a string of very, very good destructive knockouts, and you talk about another guy that had a hell of a time in his last fight. His inactivity will be really his downfall, because he hasn't been. Yeah, maybe he's been in the gym, but it's not the gym. It's the actual fights that are going to keep you sharp, and they're going to. When Mike Tyson was at his best, he was fighting every 5 weeks, every 6 weeks. So Canelo's been consistent. Canelo's fought the bigger guys. Canelo's fought the guys that have been champions. Canelo's resume is I think is the best right now, and I think that Billy Joe is still living on the laurels from 3 or 4 years ago.
Do you think he knocks him out, or he's able to knock it out, or you think for sure it goes 12 rounds?
I think Billy Joe's slick enough to try to avoid and try to box him and try to keep him off bay, but Billy Joe doesn't have the punching power to keep Canelo off. And if he doesn't have the punching power to keep him off, Canelo's going to be able to punch out him. And if he does knock him out, like I said, it'll be a TKO late in the fight where he's just getting, maybe the referee stops or the corner stops it. But I can see it going to decision and Billy Joe wearing out at the end.
Just for all of you watching right now, I've done this with Abel in the past, and Abel, I want to say about like 90% of the time, has called the fights that I've asked him about right. So if you guys are betting, put your bet picks based on Abel, because he usually tends to be right with his picks.
Well, it's this fight is kind of easy to pick for me anyway, because like I said, you're talking about one of the best fighters in the world, if not the best fighter in the world. Him and Terrence, I think, are up on top there, and Spence is close. Tyson, of course, is close, but Canelo's resume and Canelo's what he's done in the last 3 or 4 fights tells me that he's one of the best ones, and the other guy has not. So that's why it's an easy fight to pick.
I spoke to Eddie Reynoso over the weekend, and he told me that if Canelo does become undisputed, he wants him to move up to 175 to fight Artur Beterbiev. That caught me off guard. I was like, wait, what? Like, Beterbiev's a beast, dude. Like, the guy's freaking huge. Like, why would you want to do that? And he says, in order to be an all-time great, Canelo has to take those risks. And you know what? Canelo's a strong guy, and he's been in there with strong guys. Is that crazy talk? What do you make of Canelo moving up to 175 if he does become undisputed?
Well, he's already fought at 175, but that is kind of crazy talk, because that guy is a beast. But again, his inactivity could be his downfall. Canelo is a guy moving up. When you have these guys that are moving up from 154, 160, he's got faster hand speed. He's got better feet. He's got better head movement. He's got all that. And he's not going to sit there for Beterbiev to hit him. So Beterbiev is going to be a little bit slower. Yes, he can punch. Yes, he's strong. But if he's a tick behind Canelo, then he's going to be getting hit. But it is a difficult fight, though. That is probably the most difficult fight physically. The most difficult fight technically, I think, would be Bivol.
Yeah, Bivol's trick. His movement, his timing is that is a super tricky fight. If Canelo, a lot of talk has been the team wanting to take risks in order to be great, which should be commended, I think. But also, I think a goal of theirs is to be like one of the top Mexican fighters ever. If Canelo is able to become undisputed, where would you rank him at that point if he's able to do that?
Well, first of all, let me go back to the beginning of the question. Now, you're talking about being an all-time great and taking risks. I think the media and the fans, maybe not so much the fans now because of COVID and they're not around in the fights, but they always demanded guys do things that are beyond what they should be doing. They did it to Golovkin. They wanted him to move up to 68, 75, and Golovkin didn't want to because he had a lot of business to take care of at 60. They asked. Canelo's doing it now, and he's fighting regularly, and we can't be satisfied. The fans are, well, he's fighting bums. Well, he's moving up and he's fighting champions, So now, as far as him being the undisputed champion, I think he can be undisputed champion. Whether he will be the greatest Mexican fighter in Mexico, he may be with achievements, maybe with titles that he's won. But as far as the Mexican people taking him as the greatest. I think that Chavez has that mantle, and I don't think Chavez will ever lose it. I mean, Chavez took it from Olivares, and Chavez is a modern great that I think is in the heart of the Mexican people. So I don't think he'll ever take that mantle from him. But as far as achievements, I think he will be the greatest Mexican fighter ever.
You know, yeah, that's actually a great point you bring up, because accomplishment wise, if he is able to do that, there's no one else that's been able to do that. But you are right. Chavez is like stolen the public's hearts in terms of what he brought, the attention that he brought with this fight, and also the amount of pride, orgullo that he gave, Mexican fight fans.
I think the biggest or the how can I put this? Olivares had this. He was one of the people. He was a man of the people by some of the things that he did as a man outside the ring. I think that people could associate, the Mexican fan could associate with who he was and how he was. I think that they do that with Chavez. I don't think Canelo, because of the stardom and the money that he's made, I don't think people relate to him as much as they do to Chavez for that reason.
Well, another big thing, I'll bring this up. I was getting my haircut a few weeks ago, and the guy was a boxing fan, and he's a Golovkin fan, and he told me he's a Golovkin fan over Canelo. I'm like, why is that? And he told me because Canelo doesn't fight the guys he's supposed to fight. He's fought a lot of guys he wasn't supposed to fight, and that's why sometimes I can't rock with him.
I'll go back to the question you asked a couple questions ago and the response that I gave. The people are never going to be satisfied. They're always wanting to move up. This guy's got the best resume in boxing right now. We beat him twice. I strongly believe Golovkin beat him the first time and beat him the second time. But he's got the best resume as far as who he has fought and how he has dominated the guys that he's fought after Golovkin. And these guys were champions. These guys were bigger than him. You're talking about a guy that won. Did he win his first title at 140? I think that was his first title, right?
Matthew Hatton. I was there in Anaheim. I believe that was, I want to say 154, but he missed weight.
Okay, well,
the Hattons got really, really mad.
Okay, Golovkin started at 160 and stayed at 160. Hopkins, who everybody considers one of the greatest, started at 160, and most of his great fights were on 160. At 170, he was 75, I should say, and 68, he really didn't fight bigger names. Canelo's fighting all the ex-world champions. Canelo's fighting guys that, for instance, the Crusher. I mean, Kovalev. Nobody wanted to fight Kovalev. I mean, after Andre Ward, Andre Ward, as of course, Hall of Famer, beat him twice, but nobody after that wanted to fight Kovalev. And when they fought Kovalev, it was not the best of fights against the better guys. And he took Canelo. Canelo destroyed him. So I can't see how he can't be given the right support no matter who he's fighting. I think again it's because Mexican people don't relate to him in a way that Chavez does, and they're never gonna replace him as their idol or their hero.
To me, I still put Finito and Sanchez up there, but a lot of people tend to forget about those two guys.
The unfortunate thing is, in the Western Hemisphere, those weights are not really relevant. They're more relevant in Asia. But Finito was great, 50-0, and some of the greatest knockouts you'll ever see. If you go back on YouTube, I was lucky enough to be present at a lot of his fights when I worked for Don. And he's a tremendous puncher, a bigger puncher than anybody that's fighting right now. If you take him weight by weight at 105 pounds, when he hit somebody that went flying, you don't see that no more.
All right, Abel. If it's okay with you, I'm going to put some fan questions up there. So for all 600 of you guys that are on this, go ahead and put your questions up there for Abel. We'll select a few. I'm going to bring in some of the members of the Fight Up team to go ahead and ask you some questions as well. There's Yair Martinez and Marcus Hayes. Yair, you get the first question. Over to Abel, man. What do you got?
How's it going, Abel? Good to have you.
How are you, man? I'm good to be here.
Good to see you again. Good to talk to you. Hey, I was learning a lot from what you were saying about, Canelo and how the Mexican people, us, we can't accept the fact that, he'll never be better than Chavez, right? That's just always a complete argument. But I want to ask you, if you were right now, hypothetically speaking, in Billy Joe's corner, what would be the two important things to tell him as soon as the bell rings? as obviously you faced them twice, what would be two important key factors? Tell them, hey, you need to do this. This is what will impact the fight.
I think you need to keep pressure on Canelo. I think you need to keep pressure and keep him on his back foot and keep him backing up. If you allow him to come forward and you allow him to do his defensive moves and his head movement and punching from the weird angles that he does, I think that you give him.
I think we lost you, Abel. There we go. We got you back, Abel.
Yeah. I think that if Billy Joe allows him to come forward, it's going to be difficult for him because he'll just steamroll him.
Yeah, we see that. You give Canelo the opportunity to just land one or two punches. They be very effective, and, he can obviously get into his rhythm. And, why is it? Eddie Hearn has stated it many times. Tyson Fury has stated also, obviously, he's from his country. Why is it that everyone's saying that Billy Joe Saunders is the biggest threat? Is it due to maybe his size, maybe because he's a southpaw? And like you said, the last time Canelo fought a southpaw was in 2014. Why is that?
I think it's because of the past laurels. I think he was at one time considered to be the threat at 160 to everybody, to Golovkin, to everybody else that was at 160. But his inactivity and his lack of improvement, and the reason I say that is because every fight out, there has to be something special in you. There has to be something that makes you better than the last time. And Canelo has improved and has shown it, and Billy Joe has not. But it could be again because of his inactivity. But if you go back and look at his last fight, at Billy Joe's last fight, he had a difficult time with somebody he should not have had a difficult time with. So that's why I don't think that that he's a threat. Mind you, he will put up a good fight. He is very talented, but you're talking again about the best fighter in the world facing him.
All right, and now our man Marcus Hayes. Marcus,
hey,
I know you had a question with Abel, so now's your time, bro.
Hey, Abel, man, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Marcus. Nice to see you, man.
Good, man. My question is, earlier you talked about being a no shit trainer, all business with the guys. What is your role after your guy wins a big fight and you know that maybe he might slide a little bit? What's the appropriate role for the trainer? And how do you rain down discipline on a guy that just won a $5 million payday?
Actually, you don't rain down discipline. Hopefully your training system and your training habits in the gym will instill some kind of discipline in the fighter, but they're going to do what they want to do. Mind you, we work for them. We as coaches work for them. They're the ones making the big bucks. So unfortunately, in today's market, you can be replaced so easy just at a whim. Right. If you don't agree, they have to trust your system and they have to trust what you do. And if they don't discipline themselves beyond you, it's not your responsibility to be on them. You're with them for 10 weeks in training camp. And that's enough. They need to, it's like the father trying to be guiding the son while he's married. It doesn't work. They have to have their own time.
Right.
All right. We're going to go ahead and get to some fan questions as well, guys. Alex Rodriguez asked, what does Abel think about any of the Charlo brothers fighting Canelo? Do they stand a chance?
Oh, of course, they're very talented. Of course, they stand a chance. I think the Jamal, which is the 160-pounder, would be the only one that would be in line to fight him. They just say, I don't know if they're serious about all the talk that they've been doing. There's no reason to fight Canelo right now. Charlo's got a lot of great fights in front of him that could make him even a bigger star than he already is. Demetrius Andrade would be a great fight for him. I think he beats Demetrius Andrade. But Canelo is just outside of any possibility. Just it's good to put his name in a sentence with you, but it's Canelo's got 3 or 4 fights already lined up in front of him, and unless somebody comes up with a figure for Canelo, Charlo will never face him.
Speaking of Charlo, JB Cinema, thank you for the donation there. Saludos, Abel. Do you think Charlo is ducking Benavidez because he doesn't want to risk a loss and lose his shot at Canelo?
A little while ago, we talked about Beterbiev and Bivol. I failed to mention David. David is probably the biggest threat. If there is a threat for Canelo, David Benavidez is the biggest threat. Charlo doesn't want to move up to Benavidez because I think the Benavidez is a lot bigger, in my opinion, a lot bigger than Charlo. Charlo is not 168 pounder. He's a great 60 pounder. The size difference, the speed difference, the length difference will not be good for Charlo. I think that Benavidez is the talent at that weight and will be the biggest challenge for Canelo. Now, if he does fight Charlo, it's a great fight, but I think Benavidez' size will be the difference.
In terms of a fight that happened in the past, there's a question here, Abel, that an Andres Ferrer wants to ask you. And he wants to know, Abel, why didn't Gennady Golovkin fight Billy Joe back for Undisputed in 2017?
Actually, we did have a contract to fight him in Kazakhstan. There was an expo, 2017, a big expo, electronics expo in the capital. And for some reason, the organizers of the expo couldn't come up with the guarantees that had been guaranteed, and the fight fell off. And then the only way that fight was going to happen, as I recall, was because of the guarantee that they were going to give Billy Joe. And after that fight, that guarantee couldn't be as big as it had been mentioned. So it never got talked about again because the money wasn't there.
I would have liked to have seen that fight against Billy Joe at that time. That would have been really interesting style-wise. What would have happened if Gennady would have fought Billy Joe at that time? At
that time, Gennady was just unstoppable. At that time, Gennady was a beast, was a guy that was going to go forward and just beat you down until you succumbed. I think Billy Joe would have made it difficult for 7-8 rounds, but after that, I think just like when we fought the young man at the Forum, what was his name? Willie Monroe.
Yeah.
He just kept pounding him. Yeah, Willie got his shots in, of course. Gennady at times kind of put his head out there for Willie to hit him, but once he started hitting him as Gennady did all over the body, it wears you down, and eventually, at that time anyway, they succumb. Gennady would have stopped him late if he stopped him or easily decisioned him in the second part of the fight.
Don't tell the British fans that, Abel. They're going to come after you, man.
Yeah, that's all right.
Loyal. They came after me for saying that Benavidez and Caleb Plant was better than Callum Smith. They let me have it for 3 days.
Well, were you right or were you wrong?
I was right.
Okay, well.
Boxing Wave just wants it to be known that he has Canelo winning, but if Billy is in tip-top shape, he's going to give Canelo a rough night's worth of business. I saw another interesting comment here. Abel, the fight of the century is happening, I think, in like 2 months. Ask him if Abel is picking Logan Paul to beat Floyd Mayweather in the fight of the century.
Is that a basketball game?
What do you make of the YouTube fights, Abel? Are you a fan of that?
You know what? I'm a fan of anybody doing anything that makes them money. Anything that creates interest, that creates a buzz. But they just have to know, as Andre Ward once said, they have to know they have to stay in their lane. These guys are YouTubers. These guys are amateurs. These guys are 4-round and 6-round fighters. But I'm all for them making money. If they have the support and the people backing them on the internet, I think that's great. I think that's good for the sport. Just understand who you are.
No, I agree with you. I support anybody who's hustling and trying to make money. But I do have a fear that one of these things is going to go wrong and someone's going to get really hurt because these guys have not been doing this their whole entire lives. And people that get in that ring at the high level or even mid-level have been doing it their whole entire lives. And that is like a nagging worry that something might go wrong at one of these things.
Okay, well, then you have to be a proponent of when anybody starts ridiculing and criticizing the commissions for doing their job, you have to be a proponent to make sure that people understand exactly what you're saying right now. Because the commissions will keep that from happening, but the pressure from the fans and the pressure from the media sometimes makes them bend the rules a little bit. So if you are sincerely scared of something happening, and you have to be a proponent to make sure that you say exactly what you said right now when people start criticizing the commissions, Andy Foster or the Bob in Las Vegas or the guys in New York, because it's going to happen if the commissions get so much pressure. Somebody's going to get hurt. You're absolutely right. Just like
Yeah.
Nate got hit the other day. It will be the other guy getting hit, the guy that knocked him out by a real fighter.
Yeah, and it's
Not gonna fight a
if
real
like
fighter, Abel.
Pardon me?
if
He's
go
not
ahead,
gonna
Marcus.
fight a real fighter.
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry, Mark.
He's not gonna fight a real fighter.
No, you're right.
You
As
gotta
long
worry
as
about it.
as long as the commissions don't succumb to the pressure of the fans and the media, then no. I think that it should continue. Let them make money, man. Let the fans get entertainment. That's what this is all about: entertainment and money.
JB Cinema with another one at 160. Who truly is the biggest threat for your former fighter Gennady Golovkin?
At this point in Gennady's career, and at this point in his with his age, I think that there's a lot of threats. Not a threat of beating him, but of beating him, of hitting him, of doing what the Ukrainian was it Ukrainian the southpaw that fought him 2 or 3 fights ago. What was his name? Derevchenko.
Yeah.
Okay, fights like that. When Gennady, his face comes out like the Derevchenko fight, I think there's several threats at 160. Not that they're going to knock him out, because they're not going to knock him out. Gennady's got a granite chin. They may get stopped. He may get stopped because he's getting hit too much. But guys like Charlo, guys like if he moves up to 68, like Benavidez, who else is at 160? Andre wouldn't be so much of a threat. Who else
That's
is at
interesting
160?
because a lot of people think that Andre would beat Gennady Golovkin.
No, Andre would never get close enough to get to make it a fight.
What do you mean get close? He's bigger than Triple G. How wouldn't he be able to get close? Triple G has to get close.
No, I'm talking about close in wanting to make it a fight, wanting to win a fight. No, he's not bigger. He's not bigger than Gennady. Gennady's bigger than a heavyweight. I'm telling you, this guy is. If you think Beterbiev is strong, it'd be a good fight between Gennady and Beterbiev. That would be a great fight, strength-wise and size-wise and physicality.
Today?
Right now.
Oh, wow.
And Kubia asks, Abel, GG versus Canelo 3. Is it too late now? Is Canelo at this point already way better than him?
I think that G needs him more than Canelo needs him. I think that it's a decent fight only because it's the kind of fight that brings Gennady up for it. But Canelo's got 3 or 4 guys already lined up that he wants to fight. He's looking for future standings. He's looking for Hall of Fame status. He's looking for a lot of different things, and Gennady is not one of them.
Gil Lopez, Abel already answered this question early on. I believe you said that you feel that Wilder would win at this point against Andy Ruiz, right, Abel?
He would hurt Andy.
We have another question here. A fan from India. I can't seem to find his super chat, but he wants to let it be known. Please believe me, Billy Joe, since 2010, he'll win because he's stating that because he's a gypsy and that his movement will really complicate the Canelo fight and complicate Canelo, the movement of Billy Joe Saunders.
Like I said at the beginning, it's going to be a real tactical fight for the first 4 or 5 rounds. But after that, his movement is not going to be anything special because Canelo will figure it out, and Canelo will cut him off, and Canelo will steamroll him. And yes, he does have skills, but 2010 probably would have been a good fight because he was in his prime, and Canelo was just a baby, like when he fought Floyd. But today, Canelo is a different fighter than 2010.
All right, everybody. That was Abel Sanchez. Abel, hey, so happy for you to go ahead and do this with us. Thank you so much for joining us. It was really great chatting with you. If you want to plug anything or say anything to the fans, let them know right now, man. Now's your time.
Marcos, thank you very much for having me. You guys, Marcus, and I'll see you guys the next time.
Yair, it's Yair, Abel. It's Yair.
Yeah.
Give our man Yair a shout out.
It was fun doing this. Be happy to do it again. I hope that I'm correct, and just don't bet the house on it, but bet a little bit.
All right, that was Abel Sanchez. Everybody, Abel, thank you so much, and take it easy.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, that was Abel. We want to thank Abel once more for going ahead and joining us here on the live stream. Damn, Marcus, you were right. You said Areola versus Ruiz would be an exciting fight. Me and Yair thought you were crazy. I thought you were crazy because I didn't think Chris would be able to take those punches. But you know what? Something I forgot that I should have thought that I actually brought up to the Fox producers during one of the meetings is Deontay Wilder was not able to knock out Chris Arreola in their fight. He took Wilder's best punches when Wilder was in his prime. It was the corner that stopped the fight, but Areola was able to take Wilder's punches. And I should have known because of that Areola would have had the chin to be able to take Andy's punches.
Man, look, who has knocked out Chris Arreola? For real, knocked out Chris Arreola? I'm going to take a page out of my man Keith Sweat's book and say, nobody, baby, nobody. Nobody's knocking Chris Arreola out, man. Chris Arreola is one of them dudes that has that Homer Simpson brain, homie. You're not putting Chris Arreola out. Chris Arreola will lose on points, or the referee is going to have to jump in front of him, but to knock him out, not going to happen, man. Hats off to him. I thought the judges were crazy. Areola's body looked great, bro. It was a great fight, man. I thought it was
40 years of age. For 40 years of age, he looked very good.
40. Chris is 40, man. Hey, 40 is the new 25, bro.
It's the new 30. It's the new 30.
Yeah, 40 is the new 30, doggy. Give it.
Yeah.
Now, that was the best shape that I've ever seen Chris Arreola in. And like, even though I asked him like before, like, hey, does it make you like feel like, damn, I should have done this before? Like, how far could I have gone if I did this before? And he's like, no, man, I have no regrets. You know, I did what I did, and you know, it is what it is. But it does make you think if he had been in this type of shape for years and years ago, maybe it would have been a role reversal. Maybe it would have been him that achieved what Andy achieved.
Bro,
that's what the commentators also said. That's what the commentator. Sorry, real quick, Marcos. The commentator said that. Imagine if he had Goosen in his corner in probably the last 3 fights of his in recent career, it would have been a different Areola. So a lot of people are saying that. So that's a very good. That's a good topic to for Areola. But I think everything that he's done in his career, there's nothing to be ashamed of. And at 40 years of age and still going on with Andy Ruiz, a top in shape Andy Ruiz, where his defensive was supposed to be better. Obviously, he still caught him. I mean, there was nothing out of the ordinary that Areola did. There was nothing he just stuck to the basics. He did his fundamentals. I mean, and maybe if his shoulder wouldn't have been kind of horse leg, I think maybe he would have been a little bit more different in the deep rounds. But it was a great fight. It was worth $50 a pay-per-view. People were complaining about that. Yeah,
they were. But actually the fights were entertaining. As well. This is a good point here. What do we got to do to stop these judges, promotions, /boxers, /fans? What do we got to do to stop this nonsense? And I think what he's referring to is a point that Chris Arreola brought up post-fight. He felt that the fight wasn't as wide as the official judges had it, and that it was a lot close. Being there ringside, I thought it was close. Obviously, Andy won, no doubt about it. 110% Andy won, at least for me. But it was a fight that was maybe like 116, 112, 8-4, somewhere around there, 7-5. I don't know about 7-5, 8-4, 9-5. But Chris definitely won more than 2 rounds in that fight.
Man, that was cold, bro. It was a 16-12 fight. I think that was a call. That would have been a good call. The super wide margin, was it to ensure victory? I don't know. Was it home cooking? I don't know, man, because they're both from California. The one thing is that was the only bad part about the fight. The fight itself was a great fight, man. Once again, the judges kind of put their stamp on great fights. It's weird.
It tainted it. It tainted the night because it was a great night. I was telling my friends, I think I told y'all this, that it's been a while since the pandemic that I've sat down and watched an entire card. I watched the entire thing, and I was glued on my TV because the fights were very, very good. They were entertaining. And at the end, to have that result, you're like, man. But then it's like, why are we shocked? Like, this happens all the time. This is something continuous. And what can be done?
That's the sad part.
That's the sad part that
that you're like, we know this is going to happen.
This is there won't be no controversy if no judge gives a bad card. That just won't happen. But then look what just happened recently in March. Look what just happened. The judge that gave that bad scoring in the Chocolatito versus Gallo Estrada fight.
The wide margin.
He was held accountable. And I think that's what needs to start taking place, because if these judges are just scoring for whatever, or favorite, or to benefit somebody else, or the money's there, they need to be held accountable because careers on the line. You know, these boxers, Marcos, you say it best. They give everything. They deserve all the money that they need to get. So they need to be held accountable. They need to be in front of a judge and be like, hey, explain to us why you were the only one that gave this type of scoring. That's what needs to happen, because there hasn't been a judge that we've been like, oh, he's not going to judge anymore because the scoring he had. No, let's have him in the pedestal. Why did you say that? You know, unfortunately, that's just maybe what happened. Not really, but it's unfortunate, you know?
Yeah, Count Drago, I agree with you, man. I think Ruiz versus Luis Ortiz is excellent, but I also think Ruiz versus Otto Wallin is a awesome fight. I really that I didn't even think of that, and I think that would be a very excellent fight. But back to the point that you were making, Yair and Marcus, California. Just by me working the telecast that I've worked for PBC on Fox, there's been some bad scorecards, really bad, where I'm like, what the hell are these guys looking at? You know, and it's really, we got to write to the commissioners and we got to bring it up that, you know, there needs to be some sort of accountability as to why we're getting the scores so wide with some of these fights. And yeah, I know it's subjective. That, you know, it's up to how someone interprets it, but, you know, like yesterday, there was more than 1-2 rounds that Areola won in that fight. It's very clear, and if you can't see that clearly, then you know what, maybe you shouldn't be judging fights, or maybe, you know, your interpretation of who wins a round is not up to snuff, man, because, you know, yeah, that was a lot closer fight than what the judges had. On a side note, obviously, you guys may or may not have heard, this was the first fight that had fans in California. That ish was lit. Oh my God. And I don't know if
La raza.
Dude, all right. I don't know if you guys were able to see from TV, but there was 4 fan fights that broke out the whole entire day. I was there starting from like 3 o'clock in the arena. The craziest of which happened in the 4th round of the Andy Ruiz versus Chris Arreola fight. That freaking brawl that happened in the stands. We were all watching. We got yelled at for recording it, which was actually kind of funny. He's like, dude, a whole freaking stadium is recording this, and you're gonna yell at us for recording this? Like, really? Like, come on. Like, people that work for your own promotions company is filming this, and you're yelling at us for filming it? Like, really? They fought the whole entire 4th round for 3 freaking minutes, just brawling. No security coming at all over there. Dude, it was freaking nuts, man. It was crazy. It was lit. As Paco saying, La Raza won that day. No, bro. No.
Bro.
Fucking desmadre, güey. Puro desmadre. That's what happens when you take foos out of quarantine, all the vatos, and they come to the fight, man. You know, I've noticed there's a lot of people with a lot of pent-up aggression because of the
that's
what
all
we've been going through.
Bro. That's all it was. You know what I'm saying? I work in medicine. So this, bro, was just like, it was like an irrigation and drainage, bro. It was just draining.
No, hey, Marcus, no, it was, people were telling me on Twitter that this was nature returning to its natural state.
That's all it was, dog. It was just making things right again, bro. You know what I'm saying? It was getting all that anger out. They was making up for the missed Chargers Raiders game, Padres Dodgers. They was making up for all those. So, you know what I'm saying? There was Angels Dodgers fights. There was all sorts of unnecessary fights. Homie, good times.
That didn't happen here. That didn't happen here in Texas when we had the fights. Just FYI.
You know what?
Because you never locked down. Because you never obeyed the rules.
We were semi-locked down.
You bring up a good point, though, Yair. I never seen a fan fight happen in Texas. I'm sure they've happened, but all all the fan fights I've ever seen have always happened at the California.
But
fight.
not like that. Like the most recent that I remember was when Virgil fought Antonio Orozco. It was right before Virgil and Antonio Orozco were walking themselves to the ring. It was a theater, so there was just a small little brawl, and they could not start the event until that brawl ended. So they were like, the announcer was like, "Please stay calm." Is that that guy from Golden Boy, please stay calm. Make sure we can't start this event. And so I was like, man, but this, bro, it went lit. It was live. I was like, oh my God. But I agree. It's nature going back to it's just natural. It was
Marcos, all of us
Marcos,
on Media Row were just in disbelief. We're like, dude, this night is freaking nuts, dude. Like fights left and right. Let me tell you, after the pay-per-view ended, another fight almost broke out. These two groups of fans went into the ring and they were arguing over something and they were about to throw down. And Conor McGregor's manager was there. Audi, he was there. He went into the ring with his crew. And then they kind of like quelled down the situation. But another fight was going to break out. And I almost felt like in the ring, they went past the barricades, went inside the ring, and they started arguing. And I almost wanted to kind of like pester it to just like go 5 for 5. But I was like, nah, I'm going to get in trouble if I go ahead and do this because they're already yelling at me for filming one of the other brawls that was happening.
You know what's funny? They record there was that big brawl that happened, the big one.
Yeah, the big one. The one that's the one that happened in the 4th round.
They're recording it, and then the one that everybody was facing that way watching it, and the only person looking at the fight was Ray Flores, and everybody
he was calling the fight, you know.
Yeah, so they were like, mad props to Ray Flores for staying focused because he was like, oh my God, I gotta look at the fight. But it was crazy.
Johnny's saying his wife was gonna go throw down. Dude, there was a video where some chick kicked the guy in the head and then she hugs him.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, yeah, I think that was the third fight, I think, that happened, the third fan fight that happened. But it was really cool to have fans back in the arena. They told me there was like, I want to say 3,600 or 3,900 fans that were in attendance. But, dude, it was litty. Like, una desmadre, way. Desmadre.
Insane,
it was nuts, man. It was.
Let's on the card though. The whole card was good though.
No, it was.
I just don't get the panterita. Oh my gosh, that was frustrating.
Well, he alluded to something in his Instagram post. He said something's going on. I don't know if it's just him saying it.
Who's that?
Omar Figueroa.
Yeah, hey man, hey. Hope and prayers out to Omar Figueroa, bro, because he took an unbelievable beating. And if you look back at the broadcast, bro, he was actually throwing up blood when they stopped the fight. He was literally vomiting blood.
Yeah. Us ringside, we weren't able to see that. So I asked the cut man, dang it, what's his name? Mark Rodriguez. I'm like, because he worked the corner, and I asked him, and he's like, dude, Omar was spitting freaking blood. He was throwing up blood. Like the doctors came in and stopped the fight.
Mm-hmm. Like when
go ahead.
No, when he leaned back, man, and it was kind of in doubt if he was gonna stop or not, man. He looked down, and when he went, and you could see he was shooting it out of his mouth. Yeah. It became scary at that point, bro, where you were just like, no more fight. He needs to get to the back. Like it was crazy, man. It was.
I feel like he was about to throw up blood when he got punched. You can see
absolutely.
You can see when he was like he got punched right here in the gut. You can see he went, and when he just started scooting back, and he literally put his guard up like you should, and he just was like, oh man, and he just walks over and just throws all the blood. I'm like,
yeah. Abel Ramos said to us in the post fight that that was their plan to go to the body, and we asked him like, hey, when did you start noticing that you were hurting him, and did you notice that he was throwing up blood? And Ramos said, yeah, I did. I hit him with a good punch to the liver, and he burped. He did a loud burp. And at that point, he said he knew, like, hey, okay, I know he's really, really hurt to the body. And yeah, there's one point where he did hit him, and Omar kind of like hunched over.
Yeah.
He went to the ropes after that. He went up to the ropes. But it was a good card, man. It was a very good card.
Great card, man. Pandora, look, the Towering Inferno, homie. Fun to watch. He can bang. But you know what, bro? We got to do something to get that chin off that line, boy, because it's sticking out there like a fresh pomegranate on the tree in October. He should not be getting caught with those punches. He should not. It's easy for us to stand back here and tell him, you should not be getting cut. You shouldn't be getting punched like that. But some of us who's been in the ring and who knows a little bit of boxing per se, there's no way you should be getting caught with a guy like that, and especially being that tall. You should not be getting caught. And he got kind of rocked, but that chin was way out. He liked to scrap. The boy, hey, he liked to scrap, and that's what's going to keep That's what's going to keep him in the public eye until he either shows that he's the real deal or he gets unceremoniously dismissed. That's the game of boxing. It's coming.
You know, I told him during the week, I'm like, just take your time, bro. You're young. You're young. You know, if they offer you a title shot, like, I understand you want to go and take it because you're going to ask yourself, when am I going to be able to get a title shot? But like, you're young, bro. Just, you know, take your time. You still got a lot to learn. And you know, obviously he's super young, got his whole future ahead of him. But I think that's the pressure for any fighter is when they're given a title shot, you know, you're put in a position where you ask yourself, when am I going to get this opportunity again? When am I going to get this type of money again? I can go in, I could pass it, go into the next fight and suffer a career-ending injury. Like, you know, like I got to take it. And yeah, that's the risk that you got to, you know, risk management, risk analysis. You know, you got to be like, nah, you know, I know I could have more fights. I'm just going to give it time. You know, a guy who is giving it time that I like the way they're driving his career is Gabe Flores Jr. I think they're doing the right job with Gabe Flores. I think Gabe could probably be a world champion right now if they pushed him into a fight like that. But they're taking their time with him, and I think they're doing a fantastic job. And I think just overall with the young guys, they should take their time, you know, because we're seeing a lot of guys getting title shots like at 8 fights, 9 fights, which blows my freaking mind because 10, 15 years ago, guys' first title shots were like at 18-0, 22-0, 25-0, you know, and yeah. Well, right. Oscar got it pretty quick. Oscar got it within like under 20 fights.
Yeah, but it was still 18-0, somewhere around that area.
Yeah, but he was a gold medalist. You know, he fought a lot of guys, and same with Loma as well. So, yeah, I hate to change the tone of things, but we just gotta touch on it just a little bit. Over the weekend, Felix Verdejo was brought into authorities. Federal authorities, the FBI, in connection to the murder of his mistress who was pregnant. He's not. I think he's been formally charged for the murder of the girl, the kidnapping, and also the murder of a unborn child. You know, I was talking to somebody because I've interviewed Felix many times, and Eddie, thank you for that. Thanks you for supporting the channel. I interviewed Felix many times, man. He was always a nice, quiet kid, and it's crazy. I remember when I was first introduced to Felix was in China on the Pacquiao Rios undercard, and the top-ranked people brought him over to me and said, "Hey, please, Marcos, can you interview Felix? You know, he's an Olympian, just got out of the Olympics. We just signed him. Please talk to him, help us out." I'm like, all right, yeah, sure, of course. Nice kid, man, nice kid. And I thought back to that moment, and it's like, man, if we had the ability to peer into the future, and if I could have told him at that point, like, kid, you're gonna mess up, bro. You're gonna mess up big time. Do not make this mistake. You know, like, correct your life. Like, who would have freaking known? Like, if I could have just told him back then, like, hey, this is what's gonna happen with you. You know, avoid this. Do not let this happen. You know, just tragic for the family of the girl. I believe her name is Kilsha. I believe I could be pronouncing it wrong, but just wow. You know, jeez, it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me. How stupid can you be? To be honest, how stupid can you be? Like, to do something like that? Like, dude, okay, you have a side chick, you have a mistress, and you get caught. Okay, you get caught, but you don't go and freaking murder someone because you got caught. Like, you deal with it. Like, that's not a fairly difficult thing to deal with. It's sad to say, side chicks are a very common thing in all parts of the world. You deal with it, you pay child support, you manage with it, you get a blessing in disguise. You have a child, you know, and that child is going to grow up and give you a lot of happiness and can end up doing a lot of great stuff. You know, how can you be so stupid to do something like that? Like, it just seems completely illogical.
And, you know, it's not just that, just the way he went about it, the way that caused the murder. Like, it's just, it's like jaw dropping. You can't fathom him. Just think about the whole scenario. And not even that, if I read correctly, correct me Any y'all want to chime in and tell me if I'm wrong? But even his own wife was part of it, and
she was the witness. She was the witness that's cooperating.
And you know, he's not gonna have bail. But I told you on the chat, like, you know, some people close to the gym told me that he was not always there. He would show up to the gym with sandals. He would show up sometimes with not even his gym bag, and he would show up like he was not just always, he was not there. And man, whatever. It's just it really infuriates me because, you know, it's a woman, the way he went about it, the way he went.
Yeah, no, it rages me actually, because it's like you don't getting a girl pregnant. It's not something to murder her over. Like, you know, like, dude, this is a normal thing in life. This happens all the time. People get caught up and they have kids out of wedlock. Like, it's not a thing that's going to end your freaking life. Like, you serious? Like,
yeah, man. And the thing is, bro, is like, we'll spare the people of the details, but if you read the details, man, and see the way that my guy went about it, you know, is strikingly sad. And you know what, man? Unfortunately, in this world of guilty by association, it's a true black eye on boxing. It makes every mistake that a young fighter or any fighter make just that much more in the public light. It makes it just that much more to talk about and pick on and ridicule what is a beautiful sport, man. He did something that was a very animalistic thing, and he deserves an animalistic punishment, bro. It's unfortunate.
you know, I've seen this pop up, you know, with because Verdejo had a motorcycle accident, and they're saying like, hey, you know, he wasn't.
Oh, yeah, he might have been crazy.
You know, something similar like Edwin Valero had a motorcycle accident, and they said, you know, he was never right. After that's all speculation. We'll never know. What we do know is he murdered the woman, you know, because she didn't want to get an abortion.
Period.
That's fact.
That damn kid, bro.
And not just the way how he. I don't want to go into detail. Anyways, I don't want to go into detail.
Yeah,
you know, it's yeah.
And the other thing too is, you know, I'm not surprised. You know, I mentioned this on Twitter. There's still some people that are you know, supporting Felix, saying like, hey, you should look at what he's done athletically and not look at that. But you look the way OJ's viewed, man. Like, come on, really? You know, if that was the case, okay, well, we just let OJ slide on what happened, you know, like, and this has always perplexed me as well. Carlos Monzon, okay. People like to gloss over the fact that he beat his wife, choked her, killed her, threw her off the balcony of his friend's house, then threw himself off the balcony to make it look like he didn't kill her, and he's still revered in Argentina. Makes complete and utter nonsense to me as to why he's still revered. No sense whatsoever. But yeah, it's crazy. There is stories like this in boxing. 3 to come. The Verdejo, what happened? Edwin Valero, what happened? You know, well, that's pro wrestling.
That's,
you know,
wrestling.
But in boxing though, Valero, Carlos Monzon, you know, it's crazy. And like you mentioned as well, you know, pro wrestling, that's a whole different thing. Jimmy Superfly Snuka, Chris Benoit, that was out of left field, you know.
No, Eddie Guerrero killed him. Eddie
Guerrero, no, he died of a heart attack. That was because of the drug use, prior drug use that he used. But,
Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, but you know, Chris Benoit, he smothered his child. You know, he killed his wife and then he hung himself.
Crazy,
you know, I think they made the link to depression and CTE with Chris Benoit, but man, you know, it's heavy stuff, heavy-ish, and I'm still at a loss for words as to how you could come to the logical conclusion to do something like that given that circumstance, you know. But it's just very sad. We'll see how that story develops and what happens. But at this point, he is in custody and has been formally charged with the murder of that young girl. You know, changing now to the fight that's happening this weekend. You know, we heard Abel talk. You know, Canelo is expected to win the fight. He's the favorite, obviously, for many reasons. I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Canelo. And really, I went through it with Abel. You guys chimed in with your questions, but I think my main reason as to why I don't think it's going to be an easy fight for Canelo is I think Billy Joe's a guy that levels up to his competition. And when he has a guy that's below his level, below his potential, he fights to their level, and he doesn't really get up and he doesn't really get motivated. And I think with this fight, he knows what's at stake, and he knows that Canelo's a guy that he can't play with. Just like we saw Chris Arreola step it up with Andy Ruiz, I really do think that Billy Joe is going to step it up in this fight. He's going to give Canelo a lot of problems because stylistically, this is the style that has always given Canelo problems throughout his entire arc of his career. And the guys that he's fought have been good guys, but Billy Joe is very, very solid. And the only thing I think, Marcus, I know you want to bring a point, but the only thing I think that's has a chance to really bite, two things actually really bite Saunders in the butt, is one is inactivity, but also two, I think Canelo has gotten so much freaking better than that Arizlandi Lara fight. And I think to me, that's the most interesting thing, to see how much better Canelo has gotten since that Lara fight, how much better Canelo's gotten since that Austin Trout fight, to see how he's able to go ahead and decipher this style at this point when he's in his prime. Go ahead, Marcus.
Y'all ever watch Scooby-Doo? It's an imposter. Billy Joe Saunders, I don't think owns that style that he walks around and tries to emulate. Like, he's this unbelievably smooth boxer, and he's going to be able to dot up Canelo and get in and get out and move side to side. I don't think that happens. I think that he might have a hard time keeping Canelo off of him. And if Canelo smells early that Billy Joe doesn't hit hard, he's going to have a real big problem. I think that these last couple fights that Canelo's had that haven't been that difficult work right into what Canelo's plan has been. Canelo's taking light touches for a reason, because he's getting ready to seriously bust Billy Joe Saunders up. Canelo by unanimous decision, 17-11, if not a 9-round KO.
Yeesh, wow, 9 rounds. If there is a stoppage, I think it'll be a little later, but you think 9 rounds. JB Cinema, what's up, bro? I've been noticing this in the build up to this fight. BJ states that he will walk away from the fight if the ring isn't over 22 feet. There's been issues with the ring size, and obviously for newer fans, they're like, hey, why are they making such a big deal over the ring size? Well, if the ring's bigger, that means Billy Joe Saunders or Canelo has more space to move around the ring. Obviously, because Saunders' style is more of a slick movement-based style, a bigger ring would, in theory, favor Billy Joe Saunders. Saunders' team is saying that they try to pull a fast one on them and say that they want an 18-foot ring. They're fighting over it. They say they're going to walk out on the fight if they don't get the ring size that they want. You ain't going to walk out on the fight. You ain't going to walk out of the fight.
Oh, you're going to walk out? You're going to take your ball and go home, mate?
Yeah, after going all the way to Texas, getting the biggest payday of his career and finally getting the fight that he wants?
Especially after all that nonsense you pulled during quarantine, homeboy. You need to just fight for real. Just fight.
What is taking me kind of aback is I'm surprised that all these, like, yeah, you have a right to voice your opinion, but it's I don't know. It seems like he's just not mentally there by bringing all these things up. Like, I don't know. What do you guys think?
He's making preemptive excuses as to why he may have a lack of a performance, or it just sounds like a lack of self-belief. I was hoping for a different version of Billy Joe Saunders coming into this fight. I wanted the talker from 2 years ago. I wanted the Billy Joe Saunders that wanted to bring a fight to Canelo and wanted to kick Canelo's ass. This guy, he makes me question his motives, man. I mean, we'll see who he comes in as. Maybe he's playing coy, but if he really believes all these things he keeps bringing up, I mean, come on, bro, you already whining.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he's playing mind games. Maybe this is him playing the mind games.
One more point. What
about he's trying to play mind games? Because really nobody has played mind games with Canelo since literally last year. Nobody has mentioned anything. Nobody has thrown anything at Canelo. Yildirim, Callum Smith, a fight he had, was it Kovalev? Well, a little bit of Kovalev, but really nobody has played in my games. You know, the ring, you know, the judges, all this little stuff. It just starts piling up, and nobody has done that. So maybe,
well, you know, people would say that Saunders does have a legit point about judges, because a lot of people feel that Canelo gets favored in these fights because they, you know, somehow there's always a card that's completely wide for Canelo in some of these fights. I have not a theory, but it's because, you know, a lot of judges prefer a guy that walks forward and pressures, and they'll give him rounds, close rounds, because they'll ask, well, who did the most to win the fight? But a lot of fans don't see that point, and they think, nah, you know, he gets these favored judges.
My question is, so Billy Joe Saunders' style, right, is moving and slick and all this other stuff like that.
Moving and grooving.
So is Billy Joe Saunders considered a runner like they considered Mayweather? Because I know damn well that his style isn't as slick and moving as Mayweather's and using ring generalship. What's the name for his style when if and when he runs around the ring on Saturday night? What are we going to call his style? What is it called? What is it
Bob
called?
and weave. Bob and weave.
Bob and weave. Are we gonna make
defensive style. He has a defensive style.
Oh, it's a defense. It's not running though. It's not running like Mayweather.
A lot of people would say, yeah, that it is that.
Yeah, and I honestly believe that his style will go to pieces once he starts feeling that leather and Canelo starts to pop him. It's only a matter of time. I think Canelo breaks him down.
That is if Canelo can keep up with him, bro.
Canelo hasn't been doing anything the last couple fights. I'm telling you, he's just been staying in shape and getting these dudes easy come, easy go. He's ready for battle. Trust me. This won't be the same Canelo that you saw versus Yildirim.
Now, I saw Canelo 2 weeks ago. Dude looked freaking fast. I was surprised by how fast he looked. He looked a lot faster than what I remember him seeing. Seeing him, and you know, the interview that we put out earlier today with Eddie said that this is the fastest that he's seen Canelo in I think his whole career. Some people I know will think that I hate Saunders, but what has Saunders done for me to hate or love? He's another fighter. We'll see Saturday what his legacy really is. Well, yeah, man, this is going to be the biggest test of Billy Joe's career, but you know, it's not over for Canelo after this fight. You got to commend Canelo, man. This is his year. If he makes it out of this fight, goes into the Caleb Plant fight, which I think is just as difficult, if not more difficult than this fight, because Caleb Plant is a lot bigger than Saunders. This is the year of Canelo. Canelo, hands down, fighter of the year. If he's able to make it out this year as undisputed. You're shaking your head, Marcus. I'm just saying, man, like I get it. But you know what, man? I really think that there are other guys at 68 that beat both Billy Joe and Caleb Plant. I think it probably would be more appropriate for these two guys to be fighting for the right to fight Canelo with Benavidez somewhere in the mix. I mean, I'm grateful for the fight as a fight fan. I definitely will be tuning in and watching. But at the same time, I mean, this is not the best competition that he can get, nor is Caleb Plant the best competition that he can get. David Benavidez at 168 is the best competition that Canelo can get, period. Well, you can make an argument that Canelo's fighting the world champions. He's fighting the #1 ranked guys who happen to have belts. That's, I mean, no, the #1. If you have the belt, you're #1. I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, man, is so are you telling me that, without going too far into the meeting, do you tell me that Benavidez doesn't come in and take Billy Joe's belt? Or Benavidez doesn't go over and take Caleb Plant's belt? I don't know about Caleb Plant. That's a hard fight. That's a hard fight for both guys, bro. That's a hard fight for both guys.
Benavidez versus Caleb?
Yeah, that's a hard fight, man. That's not an easy fight.
I think that Benavidez is #2 in the division.
And, you know, you're probably going to get 90% of the boxing fans to agree with you. I happen to think that Caleb Plant is number 1 and number 2 in the division. Benavidez, Caleb Plant, Canelo. Those are the top 3 guys at 168 pounds because I see the skills that Caleb brings. A lot of people would say I'd be full of ish because Caleb doesn't have any power, that he struggled with putting out Truax and all that. But I see what I see, and I see a guy who's supremely freaking skilled in Caleb Plant.
What? I'm going to tell you the truth, man. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not trying to joke. There's a guy at top rank that I think right now would give Caleb Plant a heck of a fight, and it's not Berlanga.
Berlanga.
It is Steve. No. It is Steve Nelson from Omaha, Nebraska. Listen.
But what has he done, bro? What has he done to get a fight like that? He needs
He's the reigning NABF champion at 168.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I know that it's
a national mean anything.
Title. Is that a guy that would give him a heck of a fight? Period. Skill for skill. If you like skill
wise,
if you like skill, if you like counter punching, if you like defense, if you like turning defense to offense, if you like angles, if you like one punch KOs.
Yeah, but what Marcus? What level of competition is he doing this against? You got to ask yourself that. If he's doing that against elite guys, then yeah. But if he's doing it against guys that are supposed to make him look good, then you're kind of like, eh.
He beat everybody Caleb Plant's beat.
Truax?
Yes. What?
He hasn't fought Caleb Truax.
Oh man.
I'm playing devil's advocate because I know we need to get a little bit of heat, a little bit of spiciness on this.
That's all the spice you need, mate.
Yeah, there he goes. What was that thing with the A-team whenever he'd smoke the cigar?
Yeah, B.A. Baracus, I mean.
No,
that was Hannibal.
Hannibal, yeah. He'd say a certain thing, wouldn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Something with like trouble or something like that. But man, it goes down this weekend. Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders. I think that's and look, rightfully so. I think that's the only fight that's happening this weekend. I think a fight. I'm gonna let you guys in on a fight that I think you can't miss because I think this fight's gonna be fight of the year, or very close to being fight of the year. An exciting fight. Brandon Figueroa versus Luis Neri on May 15th. It's a Showtime fight. It's going extremely under the radar. You guys make sure to take a mental note of that fight because that fight, they are going to beat the living crap out of each other. Someone's going to get knocked out, and both guys are going to take big punches from each other because that's how they fight. That's going to be a hell of a fight. That's going to be at the StubHub again. Let's see if it gets crazy there at that arena, or if all that chispa, all them sparks and fireworks got out of the vatos from last week's fights.
But you think that one's gonna be a big fight? It's gonna probably catch a lot of attention. I am still standing.
No. I don't. It's under the radar because obviously a lot of people don't know about Brandon or Luis Neri. But I'm telling everybody, make sure to watch that fight because that fight is gonna be a dope fight.
Absolutely. I believe it. I'm
just waiting for the Jose Ramirez versus Josh Taylor fight. So that's the one I'm really, really more intrigued. That's just me. Find that division.
Hey, that fight has a chance to maybe be kind of
the fight of the year.
No, because Taylor's such a good freaking boxer. He could end up shutting it out because he's such a good technical boxer. I don't think so, but he has the skills to go and shut it out. I don't know. You guys decide you agree or what?
You know what, man? Luis Neri is kind of he's a hell of a fighter. I mean, the thing I love about him, man, is how accurate of a puncher he is. He's got a heck of a work rate. He's super crisp. But I do think that he is somewhat vulnerable. I think that coming up with Figueroa, that's definitely going to be a high punch output fight. And for me, I still think that Neri edges him out, man. I think Neri edges him out. We'll have to see.
I want to see how he's going to come in the ring as in the defensive side. Obviously leaving Eddie Reynoso, you really don't hear anybody leaving. So I also want to see how he's going to be in the ring. If he's going to be better off, or he's going to be.
You know what? Let me back up on that.
He's back with his old trainer, and that guy knows what he's doing. His old trainer.
his brother just took a hell of a beat down too, bro. So you get what I'm saying? Like there may be some added zest to his training sessions in the next couple weeks, man. I think that that's enough to kind of push it to an even fight, man. We'll see what happens.
And
He's already a good fighter.
And you know what makes it, like Marco said, that what makes a good fight is that both are going to come and scrap. Both are fighters. I mean, Figueroa, he's going to come and fight. You've seen him fight. He's so that's what's going to be very, very interesting to see him next week. So it's going to be guns out, right? Blazing.
No question.
MEZBX. Who has Plant beat since Uzcategui? He has fought 3 ducks since. Benavidez washes him. Plus, Benavidez' resume is better. You guys care to respond?
I mean, Mr. Easy BX, I might as well stack another 5-piece on top of that because I don't want to dog on my guy Caleb Plant because I do think that Caleb Plant's a heck of a fighter. But listen, man, Benavidez is just different. Benavidez is truly, while we're over here talking about who's a Mexican warrior, look, man, Benavidez is the one. At 68, he's for real. Who can beat him?
And you know what makes him more special is, if I'm not mistaken, he didn't have an amateur background, right? Benavidez? He literally started sparring all these professional fighters. Like,
yeah, but I think that's more than enough for that did more for him than having an actual amateur background because he was sparring against freaking world champions when he was a kid, you know.
Yeah, and that's, you know, I think Sergio Martinez. So that was his amateur background. So that's how special he is. So when people say he's special, there's a reason why. You know, he didn't have an amateur background. Like Sean Porter said, he will always choose. In the most recent interview you had with him, Marcos, he said he will always choose the amateur background over a fighter that doesn't have it. And
that's always not true, you know, because like with that interview that I did with Sean, he's saying that he'll always choose the guy with the more accomplished amateur background. Anthony Joshua has a more accomplished amateur background than Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury didn't win the gold medal. Anthony Joshua did, you know? So.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying is it's just a specialty of David Benavidez, like Marcus said, is that, you know, he's just a special fighter that people don't really realize how special he is. He don't have an amateur background. And fighting those guys, that you seen when he was younger, when he was barely 16, 17, 18, he was not in the shape that he was right now. He was fat, like fat. Like he was fat.
He's so a little albondiga.
Yeah.
Little meatball.
He was holding his own.
Yeah,
he was doing more than holding his own. He was getting off on these pros, man.
Kelly Benavidez, Sergio Martinez, all these good fighters that were at that moment. So that's why one of the reasons why he's special. And I think it's just going to take a little bit more, just a tad bit more, because, you know, he fights in August. It's going to take a little bit more just for him to be in the radar for everybody where nobody's going to be able to duck him. So it's just a matter of time. And he's only, like barely 24? So he's not even in his prime yet. He's not really in his prime. So we really haven't seen a solid David Benavidez at a 168. We haven't seen that yet. And that's what's amazing, that we haven't seen that. We've seen Caleb Plant right now. We can say Caleb Plant's in his prime, right? We can say that. He's older. So we're seeing the best of Caleb Plant. Would it match up with David Benavidez? Possibly not. We don't know. I mean, it's just experience is going to be a factor too. But
yeah, he's 24. So again, they fight in 4 years. It's horrible. You get what I'm saying? Like, time is truly on Benavidez. Time is on Benavidez's side now, and it's going forward versus these other guys. And that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, unless there's another guy that's coming below the ranks, he's going to own the division soon.
Yeah, he is. Certainly, I think he is the future at 168. Paco says, Berlanga, food for Canelo. Stop it, y'all. Obviously, with the fight that Berlanga had over the weekend, he's
nobody's saying that Canelo would be beaten by Berlanga.
Yeah, he would still. He's still got a long way to go before I think he is able to beat a guy at Canelo is level. But hey, man, he bright future. He's a great fighter, a lot of upside. Berlanga will be a big star.
Step up fight. Steve So Cold Nelson in Berlanga.
There you go.
When Nelson gets off this Achilles injury, So Cold heal up. I think that is a great fight, and they're both with top rank, man. I think that's something that can happen in the next year or so.
Johnny Appleseed, you crazy, bro. Come on. Crazy dog.
Oh, God.
Stop. Stop,
Please
bro.
stop.
Stop. All right, guys. We went way over, but I think this was a very great conversation that we had with all you. And of course, I want to thank again our special guest, Abel Sanchez. Hopefully, I can get someone else for next Monday as well to join us live. So thank you, guys. Let's get one more final round of likes for the Fight Up TV live chat. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If this was the first time watching us, we got you covered this whole entire week for Canelo versus Saunders coverage. Our man right here, Yair Martinez, will be covering the fight, as well as me on the ground in Texas. So look out for the videos that we have this week for the fight. And of course, on Saturday, post-fight as well. And then we're here every Monday at 5:35 p.m. Pacific time. For Yair and Marcus, I'm Marcos. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. And we'll see you next week. And check into the channel each and every day this week for more coverage of this Canelo versus Billy Joe Saunders fight that's happening this Saturday in Texas at the Jerry Dome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it, and have a good rest of your Monday.
Have a good night.